Check.
Okay, this last part is gonna go, it's gonna go kind of quick because what I want to talk to you about is Black Hills Books Press. If you have people, if you have authors, if you have stuff you want to get published, what we're trying to do is help people get works out in the world. Over here, oh, I can't really walk, can I?
I can get them for you.
Okay, well, there's just a lot of books. There are examples of books we're reprinting. Steve Thorpe is one of those authors. We have a specific process we follow, which is the staff has to like the book because we're going to work on it for a long time, so we have to like it. That's one thing. The second thing is we view it as a collaborative process, meaning we never, you don't throw your manuscript over the wall and then we make it pretty and sell it and keep most of the money, and that's not the way this works. You work with us all the way down to the wire. It's print-on-demand publishing is how we do it, which means you can continue to evolve your book and continue to make changes. I can't speak to this directly, but Steve Thorpe had a contract with a traditional publisher when he was young and beautiful. And we reprinted his novel because I love his novel. And Steve is going to come up here for a second. And I'm going to have him talk a little bit about the difference between traditional publishing and print-on-demand publishing as done by Black Hills Books Press. Steve Thorpe, yay!
I get the whole bit.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Well, all right. After working with Barbara's amazing. I mean, she saw things in that manuscript that my editor at Doubleday and my agent at William Morris didn't. And we brought them up. We brought them out. After working with her, I'm hard-pressed to say exactly what Doubleday did for that novel. I think, thinking about it, they tightened up a lot of dialogue. We did a lot of compressing conversations. But it was an arduous process. It went over at least 2 years. The novel was accepted. The editor started working on it. The first thing that happened was I got an outline and a letter, 20 pages of it, with what he thought I ought to do to the novel. So I would sit down and I would do most of it.
On a typewriter.
Yeah, on a typewriter, exactly. It was, well, actually, I didn't actually do it. I would redo the outlines because some of the changes we were making were changing how the story worked. And with a novel, I mean, it all has to fit together. So I would be, okay, if we're going to do this, we're going to have to move this to someplace else. And so I would send back a 20-page outline and letter about, okay, here's what I think. And 2 or 3 months later, I'd get another 20-page outline and letter with, well, okay, what about this? And this was back and forth and back and forth. I let them do things that I wished I hadn't. And so by the time the thing came out, I was sick of it. It never did sell well, and they didn't send me out on the road to stump it. They had no budget for that. And Ned, my agent, had a pretty good idea that I was not going to be good at that. So it just kind of died. I mean, they printed like 5,000 and it sold 2,500 and they pulled the rest. Or remained the rest or whatever. And so then Bantam published it in '85 and the 10th anniversary of the fall of Saigon. And same thing happened. I think they put 25,000 and it sold 12,500 and disappeared. So Barb read it and I I was embarrassed by it. I didn't actually read the novel for 10 years. I just, you know, it was like something I'd done. I was sick of it. I had a copy of, once in a while I'd get to autograph one for somebody, and that was about the size of it. So Barb read it and she liked it, and I started explaining why I didn't like it. At that point, I still hadn't read it as a novel. I had read it again and again and again, manipulating it, but had never sat down and looked at the finished product. And I told her some of the things that I'd done that I wished I hadn't at their request. And there was one scene that was cut out that I think works a lot better dramatized. It ended up, it was necessary for the story, but it ended up being recorded, which, that's kind of lame. And so she said she'd like to do it, and that was way before Black Hills Books, you know. And so the pandemic hit, and the music is gone. You know, I mean, I'm in my 70s, I've got COPD. I mean, being short of breath is something I can't afford to do, so I isolated. And after about the first week, I fortunately moved to a much larger, nicer apartment right before it happened. In the first week, I'm pacing the floor, and I actually have enough floor I can pace. And I'm thinking, what am I going to do? You know, I mean, this is every 14 days I'm isolating because I've got to go to the store every couple of weeks. And finally, the light goes on. It's like, well, you know, I had written novels for 20 years. I had a whole bunch of them that I wasn't able to sell after Walking Wounded. And I thought, well, okay, I'll just rewrite those. So I rewrote 5. Just, you know, took the manuscript, put it by the typewriter, or actually, by this time I had figured out how to edit and rewrite on the computer, which was something, as soon as I got a computer, I tried to do that, and it was not working. I mean, to me, writing was, you ran it through on your fingers, and then you went in and you marked the manuscript up, and you got to put this here, and you've got to do this, and there's too much of this. And then you run it through with your fingers again, and I would relive it each time, and I really enjoyed the process. You know, I mean, I get this story, and it's like permutations of the same thing. So by the time I went back to it, I had a word processor, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna see if I can do this. And I did, I could, you know, I mean, it was having to come at it after having been gone for a long time, and I enjoyed it. I rewrote 5. I finished 2 that I had started that were, at the time, I considered frivolous, and they're frivolous, but they were fun. And I finished them. Finally, I'm 3 chapters short of one I've actually rewrote. But the thing about Barb, I mean, I'm a 20th century guy. I am, 3 decades into somebody else's century, and I really don't fit here. But Google Docs and the cell phone, we edited these real time, both working, you know, off the same manuscript and talking it. How would it take? It took about 6 months, maybe?
Maybe. It was short.
It was, yeah, I mean, it was like, whoa, this is really, really cool.
So let's see, 2 years? 2 years?
Yeah, at least 2 years, 6 months. And
It was in pretty good shape when we got it, though. I mean, honestly.
well, but it's in better shape because, like I say, she is a better editor than the guy I had at Doubleday. And neither the agent nor the editor of Doubleday are mentioned in the acknowledgments because they were pretty much done with me by the end of it. It was, we didn't like each other.
You better shut this down a little, but Darla's going to be
kicking us out here pretty
Yeah,
quick.
I
but
Okay.
Thank you, Steve. The thing I was struck with when Steve said to me that it was less painful to edit this way. We established this collaborative editing process and collaborative publishing process kind of theoretically. We thought it should be better for the author to stay involved from the beginning and all the way through. And when books sell, the author should keep most of the money. When we decide what the cover is, the author should say, yeah, I can live with that cover. Steve, I'm going to just point this out because it's beautiful, but Steve's sister is a fine local artist, Lynn Thorpe, and she designed his cover. We didn't, make somebody else do it, or we didn't hire a commercial illustrator. We hired somebody that knows Steve, and she used this metaphor, and there's an explosion in the book that is through it, and she drew this.
Which is described as a red flower.
A red flower, and she's an artist, and she did a better cover than you could do if you picked clip art somewhere. So by involving people in it, I think we've done a great job creating books that authors want to have, which is different than creating books that sell. So we're not really as focused on selling as we are on creating books that authors are proud of and that they want. You guys looked at the books over here, so you can see there's a variety of things. Do you guys have any questions?
Where could you find this Black Hills Books Press you speak of?
You might look for my name on the business card. And yes, on the business card. And then Darla also has my phone number and knows where to find me most of the time.
I swore that I should never give that out.
There's this secret thing. And, of course, we're at the top of the New York Times bestseller list every year with our work. Anything else?
I think that Backroom Productions, Barb's been with us a long time. I'm more new at 20 years. But the things we've done over the years are as interesting as Guitar Masters. We do the Pediatrics Book Drive, which usually gets 5,000 books for children in need every year. And those are new and used books. Don and I do that. We have the Dakota Instrument Drive that is under the Backroom umbrella, that we find instruments that are donated to us and they are refurbished. Don does the strings and a friend of his does the horns. So they can go to kids in schools that want to play but they can't afford an instrument. So they can come to us and get those instruments. We've got 30 horns today that are going to be refurbished, and we've got a lot of stringed instruments as well. And these are not bad instruments. These are really, really fine instruments for kids to start on. We also have Women Behaving Badly, and that is a thing that came up from the book festival. The Festival of the Book wasn't including certain kinds of women writers. If you're writing about vampire fashion or, yes, torrid sex in a superconductor.
Sex, yeah.
They had, they have a lot of different women writers that they weren't invited to speak. And so Tammy said, let's have an event for those women. And the South Dakota Festival of the Book wanted nothing to do with it. We went ahead with it. It was very successful. And now it is the kickoff event for the festival when it is in this side of the state. Anything else I've missed that we do?
You guys may have noticed, but it is relatively dangerous to be associated with either Darla, and you'll notice she keeps pointing at Dawn and I keep pointing at Chris. So, there are some people that are just hard to know, and you end up being victims and dragged into every project. Here we are. So, but if anyone would like to join Backroom and help us, or join Black Hills Books Press and help us edit, we are very open to that. We are not a closed system at all.
And especially if you see a need in town, we seem to find ways to help without spending a lot of money. That's our goal. Yeah, and then low cost and no cost events like the one you're attending now. And so while we wrap up, we're just going to say thank you to our sponsors, South Dakota Arts Council, Rapid City, Arts Subsidy, the National Endowment for the Arts, Arts Midwest. I think I ticked them all. Okay, oh no, was it South Dakota Public Broadcasting? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so they didn't give me any money. Anyway, so yeah, they helped us with the things, some promoting some of our projects in the past. So thank you all for coming out here tonight. These will be on the third Thursday of every month, but we're going to have a special event this month.
On the 28th, we're going to have 5 authors here. We may have to change rooms because apparently they have religious services in this room most of the day. We're going to have 5 authors who will do a forum, and then they're going to do reading from their work. And all of these events are designed to get authors recorded and interviewed so that we can put them online and have a virtual book fair. Because COVID taught backrooms something really important. We haven't thought much about people who couldn't get out of their house. We haven't thought a lot about people who are getting a little older or didn't get their cataracts fixed in time and couldn't drive at night. We didn't think much about that. And COVID helped all of us think more about being accessible to artists who can't maybe leave their house. And so Backrooms engaged in this effort thanks to grants that are available for COVID reasons.
So think of August 28th as a Sunday, and there will be 5 different authors. It'll start around 1, end up around 3, and so it's not going to be a long event. They're going to have to move pretty quickly on their ratings, but it'll be kind of fun to get all these people together and just from very different creative sources. Like one is a graphic novelist, another one writes books about Joan of Arc. It's a great big
Or it'll be a big fight.
That's just a nice diverse event. So thank you everybody for coming here tonight, listening to about all the things that we are doing and all the wonderful things Barb has done in bringing us this historic visual history.